Welcome back to Padova, day 4 at the European Junior Youth Championships 2023. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, alongside Christina Obermeyer, this fine, clear, blue-skied, gently breezy morning. Opening up us pool play here. Pool A in the women's division, the one and only true pool for you. And two undefeated teams. We're bringing you France versus Italy. And this one is going to be a spicy match, Christina, possibly a preview of the final.
Indeed, I think both of these units have impressed us thus far. We've seen both of them before. Opening game for Italy, of course, the home nation and host of this wonderful tournament. France was streamed yesterday morning, making quick work of Sweden 15-5. You can watch that back as well. And I'm excited. People asked us, or we talked about what will happen in this game. Not so sure. I might back France a little bit. And I know Steph also said he would back France by 2 points.
Well, in terms of kind of, you know, the previous games, both teams have indeed been cruising their way through the women's division of 7 teams here at the European Youth Championships. Certainly there's a small advantage for the French in 2 counts, although one is not about being small, it's about the height of this French team. They have some real units. Look out for Perrine Berthaudot, the number 52, standing head and shoulders above most of the pack here at the under-20s level, but also 1 game fewer played. They are 3 for 3, whereas the Italians are 4 for 4, as you say, Christina, opening up the tournament in that showcase game back on Saturday at the Eugenio Stadium. So there is a potential advantage here, as you see the fans getting ready, waving the tricolor flags. And we are ready to get this game opened up. Of course, we should have had the first call already. Local time, 9:15.
Yeah, they'll just finish up with some cheers and warm-ups. The French doing kind of a worst ways thing. Some claps to get motivated as a team together, and Italy just screaming. I think you can hear it in the background, and you can see it on the screen as well here. So, of course, in this women's division, there's only 1 pool, a pool of 7, as 7 teams are attending. Everyone is going to play everyone early in the tournament, playing round robin, and then you're set up to proceed, and there's 2 teams that will advance to the semifinals immediately, and this will most likely be the 2 teams we're seeing here, but one of them will come out with a loss on the board today.
Indeed, so it's all about positioning in the pool. As you say, it's just at the moment for this women's division trying not to end up in that 7th place berth, which does indeed knock you out of contention for any medal hopes whatsoever. At the moment, it does look like that might be Great Britain or Germany.
Right now it's Germany, but there's, I think, 2 rounds of games played still, and Italy and France are clear winners. The rest is kind of a mess, if I may say so.
Well, that's what we love about this juniors division, though. You know, anything can happen when you have youth athletes out on the field. Expect, you know, there might be the odd more drop than you'd get in the seniors division, but you're also going to get a lot more spice and action to enjoy. And it's ideal conditions for playing Ultimate. Of course, this championship has that heat break in the middle of the day, so things nice and easy breezy this fine morning. So playstyles, Christina, talk to us about playstyles for these 2 teams. What are we going to expect out of the Italians?
I think both teams have a very similar style, and what is different for them compared to the other women's division teams is that next to their stars, everyone else has a rather high level. I think there is a slight drop-off underneath those 4 to 5 very experienced players on the teams, but everyone else can run with those stars in terms of fitness, and they have a clear game plan, where we saw some teams like Sweden, who played France yesterday, they had less players and they weren't quite as capable of running with the French. The Italians, a firing squad, we know that play style of the Italians is not having clear handler positions and stack positions, but everyone kind of doing everything, and you can see that is true for the French just as much. Their defense is just tight, and they don't care about their bodies in the terms of laying out and giving they're all on the field, I think the overall intensity is just a bit higher.
Well, it does show that depth of the squad in terms of the stats leaders thus far for the tournament. The French do have 2 up on the board, Camille Blanc, of course, as well as Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre. But in terms of the initial seeding, the Italians actually came in the bottom seed in the tournament. I'm not really sure exactly how that happened. Obviously, it goes on historic results, and the French having gotten that silver medal back at World Juniors.
But Italy was in the semis as well, so I can't actually explain it at all. The Italian women's team last year around was also very good, and with some people going a second round. But of course, I think it's drawn at some point. I'm not quite sure how that works out, but there is a lot of people thinking about these schedules and the overall seed to make it as even as possible.
So just off your screen there, the number 8, Carolina Memecondiasson, is actually not going to be cleating up for this game. Well, I say that, she's got her cleats on, but she's got a pulled hamstring, one of the very pivotal players for the French. She might not be returning to the field today, because of course this is not necessarily a must-win game. I'll tell you what, it looks like she might be even getting on the line. My information from Stefan Rapazzo might be wrong.
Yeah, it's actually not Memecondiasson, but Bergamaschi.
Bergamaschi, there we go, sorry.
Who was also pivotal in that early game yesterday. And apparently during that game that we streamed, she pulled a hamstring, and that intel was absolutely right, but...
I'm sure he said Memecondiasson. Oh well, never mind. My mistake. Well, in which case then, look out for the number 8 for the French.
Yeah, she's been really impressive. I'm sure you'll find those stars quickly for the French side, but I can tell you what, it's under 20, but every single year I'm more and more impressed with the depth and the skill of these young players.
Well, it just goes to show the future is absolutely bright and completely terrifying. Of course, some of us in the booth are aged up already into the Masters Division, so they'll stay probably quite far away from all these young athletes for the rest of their shining careers.
Great Ramasses then. Open age bracket, I guess.
We will see, But no, it's a brilliant thing to come to the Junior Championships and see these emerging stars. So the Italians to start on defense. That pulled the number 37, Giulietta Corradini. So, getting us underway here, as we say, possibly a preview of the final. Memecondiasson in that central handler position alongside a back set of 4, with the Italians coming out early doors with a zone. Of course, something we're familiar with seeing all of the Italian sides do, but there's just a bobbled miscatch. De la Motte gives the disc away with a relatively short field, and the Italians immediately getting underway. On the goal line, that one though, just a straight up cold miss. Briolini unable to get that first break on the board for the Italians. So swinging around the back once again. Of course, zone of always a very effective choice in the youth divisions. Perhaps a little bit easier to frustrate your opponents. Gledel working nicely alongside Memecondiasson. Good lateral flow across the back, but unable to really penetrate through the cup and gain too many yards. Very static in the back handler set. Strip, immediately accepted by Corradini.
Loads of pressure on that Italian cup.
All quiet. Oh, I like that around the back blade. Doesn't take the give go initially. It'd be nice to see the back set strike through a little bit, Christina. They're all sort of waiting and sort of trying to throw around the back end zone.
Indeed, I do think that is how you play against an Italian zone, like just staying patient, but you need more than 4 players. That's why you have 7 players on the field, and works out again for the Italians as they break. have a big chance.
Frantic scoop there of the sideline disc for the coach, just clearing that fast sideline for his team. Bidoni, the centering pass initially. Oh, a high ball into the air, and underneath it, Arianna Ascari with the goal, and that's a break for the Italians. Early doors, the zone pays off.
Indeed, they had 2 chances, and the second one connects for Italy. They made quick work, the French did make quick work of that zone at times, and then calmed down, but as you mentioned before, never really had that continuing pass over the first row of defenders, and just at that, it's hard to play with only 4 people when the rest of them, the rest of the team, so 3 are in the backfield statically, just standing and looking at the rest.
And there were moments where they were moving quite quickly. They were looking for the give-go. Certainly, Rebecca Diasson was, racing all over the place, looking for that immediate pass straight back, which is one of the ways you try and get around, get through that cut, get really close to sort of, the further away defenders that aren't necessarily the mark. But certainly an effective use of zone early doors, but I'm sure the French coaching outfit will be able to come out and give their players some tactical adjustments. But like you say, Christina, you've got 7 full players on the field, and even if you just rotate them through, everyone on this pitch can throw and catch a reset pass easily enough. But the Italians with lots of good energy, nice hand slap action there, clearly pleased with themselves because it's an ideal way to start the game.
Indeed. Starting on the break, always just feels that little better than just holding. But the French, they might just not have been prepared to come out, for the Italians to come out with a zone early. I find that a lot of teams want to start with some matchup defense, start easily and get their heads into the game, and then grind after the first 3 or 4 points I've played with some zone, but Italy will stay with it as well.
Well, it's nice to have that zone in your pocket, be really well repped. I'm sure they'll have been practicing with their other opponents. But now an opportunity for the French. This is much better. See that sitting in the pocket, going and pushing the cup away. I really like that. That's a really great adjustment from the French women. Now quickly making easy work of it. Le Prou now receiving the disc back. There you go, that's much more aggressive movement to push that cup forward. They can't just body check you. You have to respect the space when you're running through. Really lovely flow now. It's going to be a high pass tally if this one pays off, but this is much more active from the French women.
A different kind of zone for the Italians. 1 marker and 3 people around the disc as well.
Well, on the doorstep of the first hold for the French women. Don't get too overexcited. An easy swing round to the far side of the field, and the punch into Zoe Forget, who of course we saw doing damage on the beach at the seniors level. That's her first point of this game, but definitely not her first out of the tournament.
She is one player to watch, as well as the score giver, Lacoste Lefebvre, who took that point into her own hands, going every other with that disc, making quick work of that zone defense. And I mentioned it, it's a different, they put on a different zone. 1 marker, 3 behind, making this 4 people around the disc and then 3 in the back, whereas they had 3 around the disc and 4 people in the back earlier, making it harder for the second row of offensive players to get involved as well. It might just be caused by the wind, that they're doing 2 different looks, showing 2 different zone looks, or it might be 2 different lines doing that. We'll watch out for it and let you know what we find out.
I think probably my instinct would be that it would be a different lines, or just changing up the look, not trying to change the rhythm for the defense. I really like that when you kind of rotate through various different looks of zones, so your opponents never feel comfortable. Because certainly this is going to be our first look at the French D-line in this game. And of course, our first look at the true Italian offense. Staying on the disc for a while is Grossi. Has an easy underneath. Pichella into the centre, thinks about the big huck. Negroni mixes up some pretty interesting stuff. Intense person coverage from the French women. Grossi now again. Holsters the upline backhand for a moment, throws one out on a piece of string to the back corner, but it's a little bit too much. Perhaps a little gust under it as Bichela tried to run it down.
That must have been a high stall count, just hooking it and hoping for someone to run underneath, and that one just too far, caught by the wind and pushed out the back of the end zone.
Yeah, it's a tricky wind. It sort of dies down completely still and then just arrives at sometimes the least opportune moments possible here on show pitch.
And it feels like it's coming from our backs, so from the near side to the far side of the screen.
But this is beautiful work for the French defensive response. Oh, pop high into the air, but it's missed. And you can see the dismay on the face as the hands go.
The player doing the upline cat actually ran between the intended target, doing a 7-cut in the end zone, and that was his second look, and that doesn't connect, which is not ideal for the French D-line offense.
It's a really nice look, though, in terms of the option. It's just a little bit too over the head of Noémie Riber-Cholet. But a second effort for the Italian women. Great run down on the far side. Grossi, nice reaching backhand. That one thrown again into the space. Can it be run down this time? The layout score for the Italian women to hold on to their offense. And look at the face of Fayette. Really emphatic with that one. I'm not sure she was expecting that just to go, Christina, but she ran it down like a champion.
Indeed, she did. And the Italians are on the champion track right now. Fayette with the layout, making sure that disc ends up in her hands and her hands only. The setup for the cut was really well. Even if she didn't expect it, you still have to make that cut to the side. That's perfect timing in terms of flow. So the possession, field position was changed, and putting it out there into the end zone. And trailing was Leblanc, who we know is probably one of the more dangerous defenders on the French team. Of course, part of the silver medalists of last year in the women's division, and a tall frame as well. So if she had laid out, she would probably gotten there first, but maybe wasn't quite aware the disc was going up. So we see some drone footage of the beautiful surroundings.
Oh, it is stunning here. Obviously, this part of Italy known for its fertile soil. Here in Padova, of course, those lovely rains coming off of the Alps, bringing all those minerals down to this northern side of the Italian nation. And it's a real hotbed for growing fantastic ultimate players as well.
Indeed, Padova has a well-known Frisbee team of their own.
And of course, that is the host of this junior championships. Nice high reaching grab for Lacoste Lefebvre. Looking around for options, still getting a little bit high, but easy enough for Dumas. Now Forget calling for an undercut, squeezes it through to Bardin. Oh, that's a little bit of a frustrated throw, but Forget comes back underneath it, curling in and grabbing herself her 10th of the tournament in terms of the stat line. 6 goals, 2 assists coming into this game. And that's 2 more goals to add to the tally in total.
It seems like Italy know who to guard better in the rest of that game. France evening it out, of course, giving up a break early. And they only walked it down that far side of the field, and that's the break set as well from the looks of it. Oh no, she just switched out mark again, so walking it down the open side. The defender was around, but trusting Forget to jump down with it was Bardin.
We've had a real change in the rhythm of this game because, of course, now the Italians choosing to play some match defense rather than that zone. We're having some pretty rapid possessions. Of course, the Italians have yet to get a clean hold so far in this game, or a clean anything. They've had the second opportunity for that first defensive break, and then of course having to redeem themselves on their first offensive possession. But it has to be said, 27 passes for the first goal success for the French is a real statement to the mettle they're capable of holding in this game. But let's see if the Italians can get this one nice and clean and smooth, or if the feisty French D-line will get an opportunity again. Pancotti in an isolation set. Of course, younger sister of the Pancotti family. Villa shoots one to Negroni. Tosini. A little bit lost for options, still count starting to rise. And that one just a bit too much pressure on the underneath. Fayette unable to connect with it.
It did look like it got pushed up by the wind a little bit, or Fayette misread it quite a bit, and I'm quite surprised that happened, but the French get a break opportunity again.
Well, it doesn't need to be clean, it just has to be effective, but it's all about now getting the disc back off the French. Le Pou putting it up. De Chamon. That one just squeezed out on 7 and change. Lacoste Lefebvre looking for it up line, but it will stay with Troyot. Bit of contact from the Italian defenders, don't you think, Christina?
A bit of contact, but that disc also thrown in a space where both of them could have this same clear line, so thrown behind the French intended target.
Oh, very close matchups in the handler space. Oh, and just the poor, I think, of the offense there, accidentally knocking it away rather than reaching out and making a catch, but a bit of friendly fire. Two athletes moving into the same space alongside their defenders. The Italians at the back. Oh, that's an ambitious option for the inside break from Giorgia Pancotti. A nice idea, but that's a high difficulty rating throw.
Indeed, in a lot of traffic, a very narrow lane to get it through.
Lacoste. High around. Oh, that's a really nice lead pass under acres of pressure. And a great grab once again. That's got to be Forger, no?
I didn't quite see it in terms of stature and skill.
My sense is that's got to be Zoe Forger. Let's have a look at the replay. Ah, yes, the bandaged up knee. You'll see it in a minute.
Forger, 3 for 3?
Yep.
3 scores on her tally so far, and
every single point the French have scored has been ripped down by Zoe Forger.
Really putting a mark on that game for herself. I love that Negroni was pulling away as a help defender from the back of the stack. Maybe not the best setup from the French, because that's dangerous, having Negroni in that space as well. But you can trust Zoe Forger to come down with those. You can just make it a little bit easier by moving the stack away and keeping the open side really open.
Well, it is, again, we talked about it at the opener of this match. The French really do have some very tall athletes that are going to be really difficult to shut down. Forger is 5'10", 177 centimeters.
That is tall.
That is taller than I am, and I'm quite tall for I'm average height for a European male, Christina. Fun fact.
Good for you.
The world is built for me, apart from other parts of my anatomy that get in the way, perhaps. But Forger's been playing for 3 years. Started because her dad's been playing Ultimate since before she was born. Norley to Corsini. All the way across to Villa. And the French putting on a zone of their own. Can the Italians soar over it? A great layout attempt from Negroni, but it just pops out of her paws.
Speeding up late and trying everything, but that one just put into the ground.
Yeah, a really great way to track it down. A quirky release from Gladel, but works out perfectly in the Camille Blanc. A little bit of face marking exploited. Pick upfield.
French offense lacks structure a little bit on these break opportunities.
So back in on 6. High stall, just dish to the break side of the stack. Really nice idea, and the flow is perfect, but the drop in the end zone on the front corner gives possession back to the Italians.
Well, it wasn't Forget, was it?
Well, that's going to be a beautiful rundown, a great attempt at the layout D. You cannot ask more of a defender. And a little hand slap there. Blanc putting everything she could behind that attempt, but Michela had stride and had a perfect disc to receive.
And you can see Blanc with a perfect form on that layout, giving it her all, wanting that back, but that's a hole for Italy. After they gave up a break to France and we're all back on serve, everything neat and tidy again. You see Grossi, it's been impressive in the opening game, distributing these discs and being really excited about herself doing those as well. We've seen 1 or 2 great celebrations from her in Biscaylia. Receiving that, also not stifled by the pressure that Blanc put up on her on the back, her heel there.
Yeah, Grossi, it's already clear from her stats from this tournament overall that she's a real big distributor, and that was a beautiful backhand hook that just sailed into the perfect pocket to be collected. So a hold for the Italians. Still yet to do it cleanly. They are a little bit looser with the disc than the French have been. 2 perfect conversions for the French O-line.
I think that might be the end of the difference in the end of the game, but if you're that athletic, or Italy, and you can put on so much pressure and make the French second guess for every catch, you'll get it back again.
Well, certainly things we like to see out on the pitch is these young athletes showing us what they can do, getting us very excited for future years. And a look again at this Italian zone, but the French once more doing a real contrast to what the first point looked like for their O-line against this zone. This is much pacier movement, physically and changing the angle of attack with the disc. A little bit too much waiting there, but an opportunity for a nice gainer on the far side, just going over the top, all narrowly missing the jaws of that zone. Now smoothly moving it across, swinging again. And the Condiasson, clearly a player who likes to look around for the options to develop. And things slowing down a little bit as the field compresses, about centre of the pitch to go. Now again we see the players coming underneath and swapping around positions. Padova, of course, with that huge frame. About 11 centimetres taller than Zoe Forget. Absolute unit, and that one's going to be thrown high into the air. Foul called. Bit too much hand touching possibly from Claire Bini.
Bini came from the back. We'll see it again here. The French player not aware she was there at all, and then jumping behind her. There was contact for sure. I didn't see it clearly enough to make my mind up about foul or no foul.
Well, we do like a good foul or no reel. I think this one's difficult. Obviously, you've got the player tracking backwards. I think there is a good avoidance of contact. It doesn't look too much like Bini is moving sort of into the back of the player actively, but certainly, you know, there was a decent amount of contact on that.
And I don't know if you agree with this, but in my opinion, if you know you're coming from the back, you have to be aware that the player doesn't see you and is not aware of you being there. So you have to like try and actually avoid and maybe coming from the round. Well,
I think they might be coming over to watch our replay. But in terms of, I'm with you in that you have to be cognizant of if a player is tracking backwards, but that one is indeed the physical tracking backwards of the offensive player is what I think makes the difference here for me in terms of, you know, it's a fair contact. I don't think necessarily, because there's a stop here. See that stop? And then just goes up and tries to play the disc. There's no real active moving into the back of anyone. If anything, more the player on offense, I think, coming back in towards the defender, not really being mindful someone might be behind her.
You're absolutely right. I think the issue here is that the Italian player slapped the back of the hand of the French player. And we'll see that one more time. So in terms of body position, you're absolutely right. The French player is backing in, but as the Italian player is getting up, they're hitting the back of the hand, which qualifies as a foul in my opinion.
So it depends on if it's a strip call or a foul call, I suppose, Christina. Because if it's a strip call, then I'm with you. If it's a foul call, I think it's probably not caused by the defender. But of course, the hand signal for strip and for foul are exactly the same, so we're not entirely sure. But our secret stats keeper has given us the inside track. It's a strip call. So a contested strip. Oh no, uncontested strip would be a goal. So it's a contested strip. Uncontested foul then. Well, contested strip would go back. Anyway, right, folks. We're not sure exactly what the call is, but either way, the French retaining possession a couple of inches away from the goal line. And it's not going to be Forget this time. It is a score for Perrine Bortaudeau, probably the tallest player of either side in this match. And it's an easy flat catch straight to the breadbasket after that slightly elongated stoppage.
Indeed, a very, very tall player and looked off by the Italians, or maybe a miscommunication in terms of matchups after that rather long discussion about the call, and maybe it wasn't quite the right one, but if players agree and figure out that is the fairest outcome to get the disc but get it on the goal line, not make it a score yet because the disc actually wasn't in her hands, I think that's fine. I hope everyone's okay with it as well, and see a lot of love from those French players getting
absolutely. So we have this game continuing on serve. It's just been the one break apiece thus far in the first half. Of course, games here being played to a full 15 points
and 100 minutes.
Indeed, full European Championship rules.
Indeed, and the other games going on right now are Czech Republic against Great Britain, where Czech Republic is currently leading 5-4, and Austria playing Germany up 5-3. The typical clash of German-speaking countries. It's been one or the other intense game. Let's call it that. Always a banger to see those two. I might be a little biased as well.
What would you say about that game in German, Christina?
Mal hoffe echt die Österreicherinnen gewinnen.
There you go, folks. Brugnoli to Grassini. Rossi chooses not to throw anything deep. Of course, a real post woman. She always delivers. A little bit low, but fine enough. This French zone, they do some great work at containing, and that one thrown underneath the body of Julia Villa.
It does look like they're playing a very similar zone setup, and timeout called on the field.
Don't mind that too much. I mean, it's an active play timeout call, which lots of people have controversial feelings about. But actually, that was from static. It was a turnover where everyone was sort of walking towards the disc. And if you don't use them, so it'll be 2 timeouts per team per half. If you don't use them, you lose them. So why not?
No problem with that. And Lacoste Lefebvre really knowing how valuable that turn is in the red zone as well.
Indeed. Well, as the athletes take a break out on the pitch, we're going to take one too in the booth. Don't go anywhere, folks, though. This women's pool play game will continue.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that helped to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my! Somehow they do it!
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
First half women's pool play A, the one and only pool, the true pool in the women's division here at the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, alongside Christina Obermeyer, and this one is giving us exactly what we expect. Coming back in after timeout with the French looking to try and get a second break in the early stages of this match. Lacoste Lefebvre looking for options, still count starting to rise. A high one reaching into the back pocket, but that's going to be too far for Lisa de Chaman.
Knocking out that cone in the back. Perfectly placed, gotta say, in that far corner of the end zone, but there's no one.
You don't get points for hitting the cones, unfortunately. Leave the cones alone. Anyone who's been watching our live streams will know how my feelings about players that move the cone and set themselves technically out of bounds by putting their pivot foot on the cone, where the cone was before. They're part of the playing surface, of course. So, the Italians once again facing up against this French zone. Sort of a junky look at 1 mark and 3 in the cup. That's a beautiful shot over the top, though, easily collected by Fayed. But they lose a little bit of yards on the resets. Another sailing one. Great bid from the French defender. Playing a little bit more containment. It's going to be a battle in the end zone, and it's going to fall out of bounds. A little bit too ambitious. Romain Delaire not having to do too much to ensure that that one goes back into French possession.
I think Fayette could have gotten it, but she was going for the end zone rather than catching it in front of it, which, you know, made it even harder as the throw angled out the side. Of course, it was always going to be a contested and a hard catch to make.
And while we've got a brief stoppage, an update on the confusing foul strippy call. So initially, strip call, which was converted to a foul call.
So we called it right.
We did. Oh, a kick of the cone. Nearly the Callahan there. A really great defensive pressure from Vichela. Le Chamois looking for options, goes for a brown break. Good continuation, but it's a little bit too spicy to be kept in the hands of Blanche Bardin.
Not happy with herself. Maxed the disc out the side.
Grignoli to bring us back in play. Very close from some of the members of the French Cup. The Italians happy to take that. Could easily throw a hammer over the top in this win to reach that far side reset. And she throws through the cup instead, but the layout block from Lisa de Chamois. It's going to give French beautiful field position. Nice and central. Just a few meters to go for a second break in this game. Berthelot puts a racy one that's going to be snaffled up by Lucrezia Grossi.
awareness, the Italian defense.
Well, the French getting a little bit too hasty. They've squandered a couple of opportunities thus far in this point. Negroni hopping back. Vila, of course, wearing one of the tournament hats, real cowgirl vibes, especially with a double braid look. Also important to keep the sun off your shoulders and neck here in lovely Padova. Negroni popping through. Biscella to Vila. The French sticking with the zone all the way full stretch of the field. Just happy to keep throwing these flat passes. Oh, a high dish that's maybe just about snagged by Negroni, and then puts it immediately into the palms of Marinina Biscella, because the defender had committed super hard to that lofty disc.
That was the first multiple turnover point we saw. Both sides fighting so hard, and 6 turnovers in total, 3-3 going to serve in terms of the Italians actually getting that disc in the end zone first. But that was a grinder of a point, and you see both sides not really wanting to score at some point.
I think they all wanted to. It was just they wanted to a little bit too much. There were real missed opportunities, especially from the French. They had really nice options that they were choosing, but it felt flustered. It felt really rushed, like they were not comfortable taking the options in front of them, just sort of pushing it a little bit too high in the pressure zone. But a really effective use of zone from the French.
Indeed, I do think they play a very similar style of zone, both these teams. And I think Italy got a bit lucky at times, where the French players were there and just mistimed the jump. And of course, it's always a mixture of luck and skill. Better reads on discs, but also taking the risk there. So we'll see what that defense of Italy will cook up to get the lead again.
Well, there's plenty of coaches out on the sidelines, which we love to see. Non-playing coaches, of course, a real familiar sight at the under-20s and under-24s, well, all of these divisions. So we obviously play from under-17s through. A couple of under-17s have been pulled through to the under-20s rosters here for the European Championships. But of course, it's a real opportunity for younger athletes in the seniors division to give back to their communities and see things from a different side of the pitch. Collision on the field, but all fair. Both players coming back up.
Giovannini running over a French player.
Yeah, real love a dub-dub, that one. Oh, a snatch through for Martinini. Love a catch block. Now, can it be a quick, clean conversion for the D-line of the Italians? A bit of a later release for Cece, but all fine. Trailing defenders trying to get their hands sneaking into the cookie jar to steal the biscuit back. Cece, plenty of room on that break side, but can't quite get it round the force. It's going to be a low one into Martinini, who got that grab to change possession. Really smart stuff. A nice idea to the back pocket, and it's going to work out beautifully. A little spike for Irene Giordani, and that is a break for the Italians, and impressive work at long last. They convert the disc without having to get it back again, Christina.
That was a clean break and early run through block that works out for the Italians. You see Martinini distributing, screaming for something, and then having to go flick around, spiking that disc to the ground. Giordani with the score. Well, we'll see an aerial shot of it again. That disc just put into space, and the French defender right there, you can see it was a last opportunity kind of thing, as it doesn't come out quite right, but right enough.
Well, it's a really nice one to throw to that break side. I mentioned about how much space there was on the break side for the Italians. This real good discipline in the end zone from their spacing of the stack. And nice to see that exploited. Martinini, just 17 years old. She's been playing for 5 years though. So, you know, a pretty decent playing career thus far. And of course, got the first place back with the under-17s women during her career. She actually, as the assistant coach to the under-15 side back home. She's a tequila boom boom girl.
Rimini. And that disc floating close to our camera, but lands on the line directly.
Yeah, not quite catchable by the player wearing his own Italian shirt. Of course, big shout to Joelle on cam too. So the French not very far away from their next point in this game. A good clean hold here would be enough to settle the nerves. Perhaps a fast count. Ascari just having a discussion with Babacon Diasson. Little pop in front. Easy enough. Botodo looking for an option, has the reset around the back. Lots of players cutting in the same spaces for the French. Sorin, high release. Oh, and that's a good continuation flow into the end zone, just slyly. I think that was a break side throw around the back of the mark. A big target for Bertardo. But again, not really needing to use her massive wingspan. It's just all about those easy breadbasket catches.
It's about setting up the cuts just right. And Blanc was never actually stopping during that game. Gets the high release there and then just continuing over the break side. So the hockey assist being the more important one. Sorin with that high release put into a small space, and then all Blanc has to do is get that disc out of her hands before the defense can settle for that score. It took them quite a while to score, and it felt like some pressure of the Italians in that red zone, but also on the other hand, never a doubt that the French will keep their composure and get that disc into the end zone.
Well, we are starting to see the pressure build again. Of course, the initial stages of this game was all about the Italians' zone, putting pressure on the French. So we have our fearless leader, Milan, falling off some flight cases behind the desk. Just in case anyone can pick that up on our cameras.
He's fine.
He's all right. He's back. He's back. It's all good. But it's all happening in this game. So yeah, the French under pressure from the Italian zone. Still, of course, that second point in the game. The first hold for the French, those 27 passes completed, really showing the strength and poise of them. But the Italians starting to grind things back. Sitting pretty one break ahead. A high stall for Grossi with just the easy reset pass. Lofty biscuit over the top to Amati. Going to throw a risky biscuit into the end zone that's going to fall out of bounds. And trying to play in that squeezed tight space on the far sideline sees them come a cropper.
Released a bit too late, and that edge always trailing down for the Italians, and the French have their break opportunity, but they will have to work it down the whole side of the pitch. So that disc never quite went back in.
So a slightly shorter field, about 3/4 of the pitch to go for the French. This, of course, to put us back on serve again and respond. Those two on the bounce from the Italians. Oh, that is a very big sky ball underneath it. Camille Blanc, though, reaching grab over the head. not the shortest statured player, and the triple fake spike. No, 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 we respect the disc here, say the French women, and that was quite the spicy play, Christina.
It was perfectly set up. LeBlanc had the initial cut there, put it back for a reset, and then went to the break set, so the other side of the field, and started off deep. That throw came a bit late and a bit high, as you mentioned. Lofty, but no question, Camille LeBlanc would get up there. I think she played at UBUCC with Ray Flying Oysters in the mixed division. Got rather far as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. We can bring you exactly what happened in the mixed division at UBUCC. Of course, we already said that Forget was playing with Bordeaux. And is there a bin being used as a drum on the far sideline, Christina, or is there an actual drum?
Well, I think maybe the stand, some part of the stands. Oh, is that the bin? Yeah, it's a bin. And someone even with French equipment, so a coach maybe, wanting to see the aerial view.
That's fantastic. I absolutely love that. So yeah, we're talking about the results of RFO, right? It's EBUCC. Yeah, they got into quarterfinals. Unfortunately, were knocked out by the Ukrainian team, who went on to get to semis and respectively be knocked out by the Portuguese. But either way, the future is very bright for the French nation. LeBlanc, of course, residing in La Rochelle. Beautiful place to be. So the Italians looking to try and respond. We've had just under half of the time in these 100-minute game slot. As we get towards the half here, this would be an opportunity to take themselves to half point. If the French zone can do its magic once more and frustrate this feisty Italian side. It's a nice one, just slicing up the far sideline to Corradini. Using the ace space very well, and of course exploiting these low wind conditions by throwing high over the heads of the cup. Chooses not to go for the slicer again. The spacing really very confident from the Italians right now. Just the three handlers back. And there we go, that's exactly what that spacing gives you. Negroni over the top, and the jailbreak well away from most of the defenders. Couldn't quite make enough of it. And the defense being allowed to reset. High dish, just about grabbed by Grossi. What a snatch. Now on the corner of the goal line. Negroni looking for options. Background to Brugnoli. Grossi. Hammer over the pack and into the end zone. What a gorgeous throw. Once again, Lucrezia Grossi distributing with aplomb.
That was just so much patience on that Italian side, floating the disc from one side to the other, and never in doubt that it wouldn't connect. Quite a different style of offense than what we've seen so far, and what we are used from the Italians, really, because they're used. What I'm used to seeing is the give and goes, quick movement, but showing us that they can do it a very different way, with static and going from one side to the other, patiently trusting their throws. You see Grossi with that hammer, pinpoint into the end zone. Two French defenders around, but I don't think they expected that disc to go up at all.
Well, the second assist in this game for Lucrezia Grossi. Of course, she's had an interesting stats line, someone who's obviously taking on some of the big shots. She's had 5 turnovers so far in the game, but with really some of the shots she's been putting up, you cannot say that's a bad stat line. She's a real cog for this Italian offense. Of course, 18 years old, another Rimini player. Started because her brother used to play.
I gotta say, turnovers might seem like a lot, but the ones that we're not actually taking note of are the passes people take. So how many times that disc went into the hands of Grossi, and I can tell you that's so many times that those 5 are accounted for.
Well, big shout out to our stats keeper Elliot, keeping us informed as much as we possibly can with our current setup. Of course, if you want us to have a pack of Elias keeping us with every single stat possible, maybe even some AI technology, then do consider becoming a patron of Ultimate Coverage. Go to patreon.com/ULTI.TV. But this all wrapped up at 6s. Who is going to come out with the advantage coming into the second half? This is lovely flow from the French women. De la Motte looking for options. Stall count starting to rise, throwing one just hopefully across the break side, and the turnover is generated with a great layout by the looks.
Beanie gets her body in there.
Bene from Beanie. Giovannini now. Slightly racy one up line. Good toe work to keep in from Passini. Oh, and another one. The Italians love just throwing out onto a piece of string for each other, just challenging the French defenders to win the foot race, but that one just a couple of inches out of contention.
Got to have won the layout race there, and he doesn't. Line wins.
Plenty of room for the offensive target in the deep space. Perez finding Guibert. Choulet. Easy, quick, snappy reset backwards. So the French try and find their form, and again it's another easy clap catch for the hands of Perrine Berthaudot. That is her 3rd goal of this game. 4 stats total, involved in over half of the scoring attempts for the French women.
And Fauger taking up the other 3.
It's all about the tall players. We said at the beginning of this match, Christina, can the Italians find a good response to nullify those big statured threats, and a timeout being taken by the French?
Setting up to get a break for half.
May well see a power line, of course. This game has really been neck and neck thus far in this first half. The space that was opened up by that throw, Christina, really just a testament to the power of some of these French athletes.
What I really love those Perez putting up her hand to shield her eyes from the sun. Making sure she gets a good read on that.
And of course that fate spike. But we're going to shade ourselves here from the sun as well. Grab yourself a bit of refreshment. We'll be back to see how this first half will finish.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member
and fund our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
First half closing moments here, the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023, and we're seeing the Italians try to fight, to tussle for the top spot in the initial round robin pool stages here in the women's division.
They're doing a great job so far, but the French are just up there with them. There's a reason none of these teams have lost a game yet.
Absolutely. Well, one has to have their unbroken record spoiled at the early stage of this tournament, but of course, it's all about avoiding that 7th spot here in this pool of 7. Get yourself either the ability to cruise through to semi-finals with a bye or play a pre-semi matchup. Grossi finds a little bit of space on the far sideline, but not too much. Negroni, though, is going to rip one completely open. That is a gorgeous throw, but unfortunately this time, Fayed comes up a little bit short. Of course, early stages in this game, she had that scintillating layup grab.
Yeah, you can expect big things out of her. That one asking a little too much, arcing in from outside. The Italians actually a bit lucky that came back in, otherwise would have been a rather short field for the French. They have their break opportunity to win the half.
Well, Limerick Jim getting us underway, finding Perez underneath. Oh, you can see there on the face of Bartoldo. She thought about that big shot for a while, rips one over to the far side instead for Camille Blanc, but it's going to sail out of bounds.
That's a same third shot, and I would have loved to see her rip that backhand. With her tall frame, she can easily break any mark. Would have just been, in my opinion, the better option.
Absolutely, you don't even have to necessarily step that far around your mark. You really can just put a lot of roll curve onto that backhand. It's going to sink into a similar space and also sit on the break side as well. But Bartoldo is going to be tasked with matching up against Fayed, who now pulls the stack back underneath. Italians deciding to give themselves a bit more of a deep space to work with. Doesn't much like the look of the underneath shot. It's going to be a sky biscuit that's going to go way out of bounds.
Hitting the stands even. Right behind the European Ultimate Federation flag.
Big shout, of course, to all of the EUF volunteers and staff. Doing a cracking job at quite a busy tournament season.
Indeed. There's no 2 weeks without a tournament, a big one.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that pretty hard. But of course, we love being involved in all of these wonderful events. So, a short field for the French.
I think that one went out and never came back in.
It was a high stall option. Again, you know, if he'd gone for more of the break side, really trying to challenge the mark, put a lot of air on it, a lot of roll curve on it, it's got a better chance of staying in bounds. But of course, when you're getting to sort of 7 or 8, it's difficult to necessarily have the time to turn yourself all the way around. A racy biscuit from Perez, but all good and fine. Oh, nice grab. Finally, we're seeing a little bit more of the full wingspan being used with Bartoldo, but it's going to be just shy. Looking around, needs the reset. Oh, but it's just a little jump over the goal line. That to take half with a break for the French women. Carolina Lebecondiasson with the goal.
A great hold. Oh, great. Sorry for that. A break for France to go up by 2 and win the half. That was an impeccable performance. The 52 shirt off Bartoldo.
And you can see there, it's a clear marking infraction. The wrapping there, that sort of
just wanted a hug.
Yeah, as much as I dislike the marking infraction, it's a really good demonstration of the difficulty of the 2 players trying to do everything you can. You already mentioned, Christina, when you've got that big a frame, you can throw whatever you want.
To be quite fair, I don't think Bartoldo is stifled by Fayed's tight mark, as she can just step around, and a tight mark can always create more break options if you're quicker at stepping away.
Yeah, just because it's against the rules doesn't mean it's a good thing that's going to get you any kind of advantage. But that will be half for the French women, 8-6 with the break. over the Italians. But don't go anywhere. We will see how the second half of this game emerges. Can the Italians bring it out? We're going to have to find out.
Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me?
Second half about to get underway in the matchup in the women's division between the French and the Italians. Of course, tussling for the top spot in the championship bracket by all accounts. Both teams with an unbroken record thus far, so it will be spoiled by this match. Of course, the stats of this game pretty close here, Christina.
Except what jumps out to me is break chances. 10 break chances for France to 4 from Italy, and I don't know what is considered the better thing, because you can have 4 break chances and convert every other 2 for Italy, or you can have 10 break chances and convert only 3. In the end, I'd still back the French having more chances, but they'll have to switch something in their D-line offense.
But the important thing to be mindful of, I think, Christina, is just how clean the French O-line has been in comparison to the Italians. There has been only 1 perfect conversion the whole game so far for Italian women, and it took 29 passes. They are good at getting turnovers, and I think in the youth division, being able to turn your opponents over counts for a lot. But they haven't been able to get quick turnovers, I think, for the Italians. It's been, generally speaking, when the French are further downfield, there's a longer sort of opportunity to go. The French had come out pretty strong in most of the points. There haven't been too many, like I say, early time stopovers, and that's generally where you get your breaks that come. Whereas I think when the French have turned the Italians over, it's usually been earlier on in the point, and that's why their conversion rate has been a bit better.
Indeed, and 4 clean holds for France just shows that their O-line can really do it and knows each other pretty well. These multiple turnover points have usually been won by the Italians, though, with changes up the whole structure of it again, doesn't it? When you know you have a marathon of a point, you can back your team. It's the Italians.
Well, starting out on defense will be the French women, of course. They started this one out on 0. So they're not going to get the buy one, get one free effect by getting the break out of the first half and starting on offense again. But they'll be certainly very happy with their performance thus far. A little smile from Perrine Leproux as she walked past our booth. Having herself a hacking game thus far. Just the one on the stat line, but has been pivotal. Big cog in the back set for the French handlers.
Yeah, just cleaning up the stat sheet does not mean all the other people have not had an impact on the game.
And something you might not be aware of, as it happens off the field and off our cameras, is every time the D-line comes out for the French, their entire sideline runs down the pool with them with a lot of noise. It's a big shot into the air that's smacked down, nearly redeemed. That could have been a moment of catch your D's for Jay Gledel, but works out just fine.
Smacked into the Italian player and got a bit lucky there, as you mentioned. That could have looked very differently.
Was that Lila Fender that nearly grabbed that one off the floor? Either way, again, the French on the attack. Blanc on the far sideline throws up an absolute peach of a forehand. Is it going to run out of room? No, it is not. Jade Gledel with the bookends.
Getting that D and making sure that this actually finds her hands this time around. A break to start the second half. They are 3-0 in terms of points. So the last 3 are all scored by the French. 9-6.
Big break in the middle to rest their top players. 3 on the bounce. And that was just a really beautiful flick.
LeBlanc in so much space, really left her defender somewhere. And Gledel gets the score. Her first one of the game.
Indeed, and it's just the second year of playing for Jay Gledel. She started actually, she's been throwing for a bit longer than she's been playing Ultimate in total. She's friends with Perrine Berthaudot, she's actually a soccer player, so she's possibly, that's where her excellent attack on defense and knowledge of field position. It's always really fun to watch crossover athletes from other field sports, their sense of, you know, where the play is, what they should do, how they should move. But she doesn't have any highlights yet, of course, with it just being her second season. But she's doesn't often lay out, so when she makes one, she says that's her highlight of most of her championships.
I feel that.
So the French women looking to get another on the board. Perrine Leproux with the pole. It's going to just reach out of bounds. About 3/4 down, so Brugnoli will brick that.
Updating you about the scores on the other fields real quick. Czech Republic up 11-8 over GB, and Germany 12-8 over Austria. So all these games played right now are now on bigger, like, kind of margins. Clear winners for now. Czech Republic, Germany, and France.
Or a ripper of a flick that's way too much of a laser.
I don't know where Brugnoli wanted to go, but nobody anywhere close to it.
Truly a throw to no man's land in this battle for the top of women's pool A. So full stretch field to go though. Perhaps a little bit of a huck and D unintentionally. Is it going to work out? Fonge coming underneath. Doesn't take the easy reset. Going to streak into the deep space instead. Leproux with a reacher over the top. It's going to take a little bit of a rundown, but it's the defense underneath it. Bichela with the collection off the French error. A little bit roll curvy to Brugnoli, but all fine. A little bit more conservatism now for the Italian women. Michela. Oh, and a snatch through defensive effort. Reads it beautifully and just picks it out of the sky. Pauline Dumas now with 2-on-1 in the deep space. The Italians try and find the right matchups. Dardin. Little leader. Oh, that's really nice movement from the handler set. Le Chamois. Folger now puts a lot of touch onto it, and there's a little bit of a bump from Pancotti, but the goal cannot be denied for the French. That's now 4 unanswered. They take their lead to 10-6.
Bardin gets a goal to her assist, and the performance of that French D-line offense now so much better. Great flow, as you mentioned, just always finding an open player, and the Italians have question marks all over their faces.
Well, I think maybe a little bit of belief starting to seep out of the Italian camp at the moment. They have been going toe for toe during the first half, but you often do see teams kind of then make the adjustments in the second portion of the game, really cruise themselves forward. And that seems to be what the French women are doing. The closest scoreline we've had so far for them in the tournament was the only team to deny them the full 15 cap. Of course, that was the French women against the Czech Republic earlier on in this tournament. So the Italians still got a little while to go to reach that same finish. But we were expected on paper this to be the closest match the French women would get in pool stages.
Indeed, and it has been close in terms of breaks, in terms of, well, composure for the French, I think, because they had great offensive looks. They had very tough points and possessions where they had the same kind of question marks in their heads, and I think they are the teams that are skilled, like the most skilled, and there's the most depth in both of those teams. But you can't forget the French have just gotten a silver medal. You can see the total passes, France making more of them, 30 more, sorry. Nearly 60, 160, nearly 130 for the Italians. And
it's not surprising to see that difference, though, is it, Christina? In terms of, obviously, we talked about the break chances coming into the second half. The French having way more opportunities, with, of course, the Italians not having had really many perfect conversions at all, and certainly just the ones in the first half, and they haven't scored yet in the second. So, but again, a very curious turnover in that last point. That throw to sort of nobody from Brignoli. Perhaps there was a cut that we didn't see developing that turned away, or just a high stall, just chuck it and hope.
I actually think it, so from my perspective, it looked like a set play. And the thrower just wanted to execute the set play, and the cutter wasn't quite ready yet. As Italy get another chance in offense, and they will get as many chances until they score a point. And it's time to do that now. Grossi.
It's been so consistent throughout this game. Oh my goodness, a layout catch block. I tell you what, the French have turned it on and turned it up to 11. Blanc, huge hero, but unfortunately that one will bobble out of the hands of Carolina Vivaconziasson.
Wow, Camille Lebrun, what are you doing?
She's come out to play a game, Christina. She really has. That was absolutely gorgeous. But the Italians will retain possession. Grossi fakes everywhere, finds Fayed on the far sideline. Back to Grossi. Oh, that is such a nice throw. A great defensive block underneath it, but a foul is going to be called by Rende.
I have no opinion yet. We'll get a second look at it. We'll have the benefit of it, and it does look like both players went up, and the disc is only touched by Gilbert Jolet, but there might have been contact on the body in the same time, and if she can't make that D cleanly, we'll see it again slowed down even more. Both players are going up, and there is a push on the elbow.
Yeah, it's not really how it looks to us, isn't it? It's how it feels to the players involved in the court.
We'll have it again.
There's going to be contested by the looks of the players out on the field. We've got a cluster of athletes in front of our replay, but it's difficult for us to tell. As I say, it's about how it feels to the players, not how it looks to our camera views. But of course, it is part of the rules that you can use the media, photographs, video, and the like. So that one is going to go back. Either way, I really did like the throw from Grossi. Not quite maybe as far on the break side as it could have been, but a really good option. That one's going to have a lot of juice underneath it though, and again it's Blanc.
And Negroni calls contact again.
Now this call I'm not such a fan of. I thought the one before was a really fair battle and fair foul call. This one does look like Blanc has really good position in front. Did close the door on Negroni quite effectively, in my opinion, but of course, again, it's how it feels to the players on the field rather than how it looks in our booth.
Of course it is, but see, LeBlanc takes a clear line from the side and gets there first. Players are going to come here and look at the replay together.
I mean, it's great position from LeBlanc. But yeah, I think in terms of looking at the replay, it does look like Blanc has a really nice line. Negroni and her move together, so it's going to be a contested foul. But either way, Blanc continuing to play some fantastic defense. It's really great heads up.
Indeed, because it wasn't her target, her defensive matchup. That was gonna get there, but this goes back to Grossi again. Let's see if she can get it the third time of asking.
Well, she has been giving and taking away. Giordani, oh, that's a really lovely throw. And at last, the Italians cleanly hold on the other side of the disc and get themselves a goal after a long drought of points.
And I know that was a clean hold, but it didn't really seem very clean, did it? So many contested throws and really putting the hopes up there, and all of those throws that were a bit questionable worked out so well for them in the first half, and it seemed to have turned at least a little bit.
Well, they're not. It's an interesting one because it's less questionable throws and just really, I think the defense has stepped it up a little bit in the second half. You know, the throws that were working off, and they are good options. You know, they're nice ideas. Certainly, an inside sort of break backhand shot that kind of came off from Grossi that had that first of the 3 foul calls, I think it was in the end, or was it 2? Just 2. But it's not bad fundamental choices. It's just the tightness of the person coverage. You're getting a little bit more contact, and you know, I think it's fair and reasonable for the Italians to call it. They're certainly giving some contact of their own in this match as well, certainly on the marking infractions that we're seeing. But that was the moment of the point for me. That huge layout catch block from Camille Blanc.
Indeed. I think execution might be the struggle here for both sides a little bit, as we've been already playing for nearly 80 minutes, and keeping composure for such a long time always is a struggle.
Keeping your head, definitely. I think for certainly, I envy these junior athletes and their young legs. But it's about getting that focus and keeping the attention and the attack high. But the French women out on offense. Bardin against the Italian zone, already at half field though. Delaire. Just easy swinging across. It's a little bit static. That's a good recycle through. Delaire. Hopping to the far side again. Lacoste-Lefebvre doing really good damage against this zone. Such a wonderful handler to have in the set. Forget doesn't go for it. Pops off to the end zone and melts to match coverage. Opens up the target. There's a great attempt at the layout bid from Giovannini, but that cannot stop the train for Lisa Lechamoine.
Keeping her hands around that disc, needing to lay out as well.
That was absolutely lovely offense from the French.
You see that up the line shot, a bit of a Sefi one, and Giordini coming in from the back. I'm not actually a fan of those normally, but Giannini making sure she does not full body hit the French defender, but lays out before. That layout once again, Camille Blanc with the big block. That was the previous point, of course.
We don't mind seeing it again,
oh, no.
and again, and again. That's 100% making its way onto Instagram as a reel, isn't it? With flames and like truck noises.
Donc.
She's coming for you.
Oh yeah. Really in the.
So that's a stat line of now one goal, 2 assists, and 1 big old layout block. Of course, has been playing for the senior mixed beach French team as well as coming through the under-17s division.
And a silver medalist in the Junior Ultimate Championship last year.
Oh yeah. Amati looking for options, and again it's Rossi out on the field for the Italians. I don't think she's left the pitch thus far in the second half. And deservedly, rightly so. The key talismanic piece of this Italian women's offense. But being defended very well, and a miss in the middle for Melinda Amati.
Going up by 5 points. Opportunity for France to close it out.
Nice high dish over the shoulder of the mark. Maybe a bit more active to prevent those. Forget with the centering pass. Oh, that's a really lovely disc from the hands of Perrine Leproux into the end zone. And the connection for the 12th point of this game. 5-point lead indeed, Christina. My goodness.
So composed for that French defense line's offense. Forget looks for the break. Of course, she always wants to take that, but gives and goes. And they don't even need her. Just points to the already open receiver in the end zone, and Bardin with her second goal adding to 1 assist.
I love that when you see teammates, seeing teammates free, that kind of, communication, the directing of traffic downfield. It's a real kind of testament to what you can do when you trust and have faith in your other teammates. And this is what we already talked about for these two teams. They have star power. The real top spots on their roster are beautiful, you know, sort of chef's kiss type level ultimate players, but everybody on both these rosters is pretty solid through and through, and that is going to see them both do damage. Of course, you know, you can't really hang your heads down too low if you're the Italian women. Of course, this is going to be their first loss potentially of the tournament. There's still 18 minutes just under to go. Anything could happen, Christina. I have to say, this is personally my first game of this tournament to call, because of course I only arrived yesterday evening, but I would be very happy for my emotions to be completely destroyed in the first match. Why not?
Of course, anything can happen, but that second half just screams France. From those 6 points, 5 points actually, just 1 by the Italians and 4 by the French, and that comes out as well. A stall-out call and a missed throw to the back.
Yep, so that stall-out will be retracted for the benefit of field position, and a timeout immediately being called by Carolina Macabapicondicion. Get my teeth back in, Macabapicondicion. So we're going to take a break here in the booth, because I actually need one to reconfigure my verbiage. But don't go anywhere, folks. See if the Italians can punch any more in, or will it be the French to the full 15? Find out in a couple of moments.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
ULTI.TV coverage here at the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023 in beautiful, sunny Padova. There's no irony in it. Our last European Championship was a bit of irony occasionally of sunny, sunny Limerick, but we are glad to be on Italian soil, but no home pitch advantage for the Italian women, who are battling against the French 12-7, currently favouring the team in white. Although, of course, the French do like to chant Allez les Bleus. Swinging around the back, nice and easy. Sahan. Just smoothly cruising through Blanc.
Interesting to see Italy put out their zone in the red zone.
I don't mind it. It has been one of the defensive looks that have caused confusion and frustration for this French women's side. Although they have shown us they've been capable of putting together some very high pass tallies indeed for their execution of this game. That one's going to slip away from the outstretched hands of De La Motte. And it pays off, that high pass tally causing turns, as it tends to do in the youth divisions. Bini seeking options. Oh, another layout. There's an expletive from off-field behind us, and I'm not surprised at all. What a fantastic effort again from Blanc. Can't quite best the number 11, Asia Martinini, who of course has had some catch blocks of her own in this game. But what a spicy matchup between those two. Throws a beautiful backhand into space. There's a great attack underneath it. Perhaps a bit too much contact. Beanie not looking comfortable at all. He calls the foul.
No, it does look. It's actually Liddell, both of them colliding. That disc not in the hands of anyone. I don't know who pushed it out, if Beanie did it herself or if Liddell got there first. It did seem like both players were slashing by the disc that was a bit undercooked and going towards the right side of your screen.
Well, I think both teams are starting to really get the matchups right here, and those two have been playing some very physical defense all game long. I think there's a good body control by the looks of it from Gladel. She sort of sits on that back shoulder, just puts the arm out rather than really pushing through the back. But of course, certainly contact after the play. What are your thoughts, Christina?
It's tough to say. I see both sides. And that's why we have the system of contesting a call. I get the view of both players, and I don't think I could take position for or against anyone.
It certainly looked like from the view, I'm going to say from behind, that Gladel had relatively good body control, didn't get too feisty, maybe not, but certainly, again, from that angle, we can't see. So if they're signaling a goal, which would be a uncontested strip, I think maybe the hand signals. There have been some comments in the comments about the misunderstanding for some of the teams in the women's division on the hand signals. So contested foul. No, hold on. A signal. Oh, injury signal. There we go. So injury signal. Jay Gladel is going to come off, and then but it's an accepted foul. So it's going to be French possession on the goal line for Claire Beanie. So going to have be tapped in and bring it forward. And an immediate scoring pass is thrown for the Italian women, so they hold on to their offense, having been broken 3 times in the second half by the French. So that's step 1. Are we going to see a zone, do you think, in the next point, Christina?
Maybe. It's been working out so well. On the other hand, it depends on who's out for the French side, in my opinion, because it, again, depends on personnel. I think if they put on Lacoste Lefebvre, I would not put a zone in, because she has been running through that, slicing through and finding those holes. Well, we'll see what happens. It's not a close game per se in terms of stats line, but the quality of game is very high.
Well, it was close in the first half. You know, we did see the Italians come out with the first break, the first point of the game. They gave the French a little bit of a scare, but it has been players like Blanc, who we saw, of course, that just on the replay just before this one, that very, very close to a second layout block. But they have been stepping up in the second half and making fewer errors as well, have the French women. They've been, you know, for their score line in the second half, they have turned the disc over once. Yeah, that's impressive. Well, no, their O-line's turned, no, hold on, let me think about it. They've had 3 turnovers the second half, and all from their D-line. They've had 0 turnovers for their O-line at all in the second half. But then again, we haven't seen their O-line come out that many times.
That one is just once. A clean hold with 18 passes. That's a good thing to do. Again, I'm going to quickly update you on other scores around the vicinity here on that pitch. 15-9 the score. Czech Republic over Great Britain, and then Austria and Germany 13-14. Austria have been trailing by 4 at some point of this game, and it's going back to be very, very close.
Well, the German-speaking showdown getting very tasty elsewhere at the field complex here in Padova. Firm but fine underfoot. And the French women looking to swing it around the back against, again, the Italian zone, which we expected to see because it has been some of their better defensive options. The French able to just happily swing it back and forth. It's, of course, that 4-point deficit the Italians face. Padova just sitting in the hand of set. Le Condiasson moving across. Oh my goodness, what a great piece of work. Ascari just sneaking through like a thief in the dead of midnight. Now, can the Italians make anything of this? They really need to. Beautiful arcing shot into the palms of Giordani. Around Giovannini. Nice expansive throw. Well, we have a proper live play timeout called there from Stefani. See if it's going to pay off for them. Christina, what's your take?
I think it's a much needed break for the Italians if they can get it. I'm not so sure I like the call because they were in flow. They had cuts coming. But we'll see what they cook up, and maybe the French will come out with a zone of their own.
Well, talking of cooking up, I mean, both teams with excellent cuisine culture. Indeed, we'll have to see which page of the recipe book is going to come out. That was really just beautiful defense on this throw. Exploits that immediate pass back, but as the French are 4 points above the Italians this time out, we're going to see how it works out for them. Don't go anywhere, folks. We will be back to find out. Late stages here in the women's division, the one true pool of this 7-team format. Who is going to be knocked out of the top position? Currently the two teams tussling, the Italians in the top seed having taken 4 for 4, but the French 3 for 3, looking to spoil the perfect sheets of the Italians. Bailey Stefani having called the active play timeout. Is it going to be a turnover? Turning it into a turnout or a time over, depending on your Frisbee jargon of choice. Well, the first pass comes good. Giovannini pops around, but it's thrown almost directly into the sneaking block. Sky ball goes up. Foul called elsewhere.
Padova comes up with the catch, and I think LeBlanc says contact, but that'll stay with France.
Yeah, just came in through at the last minute to redeem possession. A little bit of friendly fire on the far sideline denies the scoring cut. That looked like a beautiful play emerging. Oh, that's a really ambitious shot and run down. Again, not too much being asked. Perrine Berthaudot, another to her tally. That will be 4 goals, 2 assists, and 1 turn in this game. The French 13-8, the closest scoreline we've seen thus far this tournament for the French was the Czech Republic women, who took them to 14-10.
I can tell you this one will go to 15 as time will expire in the next few minutes. Or actually, we'll see whether 14 or 15, but I'm pretty sure the French will. Well,
yeah.
I'm backing the French all the way now after seeing what they can do now. I'm pretty sure, actually. But
well, I think as long as the number 17 of Camille Blanc stays on the pitch, it's going to go the way of the French. They are missing, as we mentioned earlier. I confused myself, and it was indeed Anna Bergamaschi who is not on the pitch for the French. So if she comes back to full health, to add to this studded French side,
no question that she's missing, but she's not the only piece in the puzzle of those French. Maybe she can make more of a difference, and the scoreline will be even more grand. But for now, they're doing pretty good without her. Of course, we wish her all the best and quick recovery.
Absolutely, a big shout out to all the medical staff who come to these championship events and help players return to play. Of course, we saw that at the seniors division a couple of weeks ago. That's a beautiful shot though to Negroni. She might have overcooked that secondary pass, she has, but that was a real nice start of the play.
Not only did she overcook that, she underestimated Camille Leblanc going from behind and overrunning Fayed, her defensive matchup. That disc put out into space, nearly deep by a French defender, and then curling up to put it into space. And you see Fayed actually gave up on it, seeing that it was too far out in front, but LeBlanc making sure that never hits an Italian player's hands.
Well, this to potentially make it a secured game to 15 rather than 14. They've only been denied once so far the tournament of reaching the points cap. Camille Blanc, just no one anywhere near for a solid 3 seconds. Gledel pops back to avec Andiasson. And just an easy throw into this space for Guibert Cholet. And that will indeed be a game to 15 here on the showcase field. The French women looking really dominant. No surprise, of course, though, after that silver medal at Joint Juniors last year.
Indeed, making quick work of break, and with another break, they can close out that game. Very big margin of 7 points. Perez with the score on the break set. 3 people running towards that space. And the Italians looking a bit done, but tired. They gave it their all, gave up a good fight, but France, just as you said, look like the vice world champions they are.
Yeah, and they've got it all. They've got depth, they've got height, they've got athleticism. I mean, Blanc has been all over. We have been calling her LeBlanc by accident a couple of times, but I feel like calling Camille LeBlanc is kind of, it kind of works. She's, in terms of, you know, the Camille Blanc.
The white, like the shirts the French are wearing.
She's Mont Blanc. She's a mountain. That's the level she's ascended to so far in this game. Of course, all over the place. We've got some score results of the other pool play. Of course, you can see these all online, but what's been the update that's made you really happy, Christina?
Austria won against Germany on Universe.
Well,
and they were down by 4 at some point. I'll let you know.
Yeah, you can indeed see the full gameplay because all of our volunteers bringing you stats in this tournament, but that's a beautiful racing shot for the Italians looking to try and keep this game alive. One more, a sneak to the front cone for the number 15 of Chiara Cicce. And that will keep this one alive a little bit longer, but I can't see the French O-line getting broken in the last stage. But the most important thing about that point, Christina, that was a clean hold in 3 passes for the Italians, which we've not seen at all this entire game. That rapid pace.
Giovannini taking control of the point here, getting that isolation cut and putting it deep. Maybe not the cleanest of throws, but that doesn't matter as the receiver is trusted Of course, Margherita Giovannini, a player that was attending EUC with the Italian team, got into semis, and then got eliminated by the
GB team.
GB team, yeah, just by GB in the end, and then also denied a medal by the Czech Republic, but she did redeem her country in the opening game against the Czech Republic, and they won that. And she hasn't really been active in this game yet. Maybe they don't even want to win. Maybe their stars are kept at a low level, and Giovannini is just helping when help is really needed.
Well, we got the inside track because I had exactly the same thought yesterday, because this, of course, is a game we chose to move onto the show pitch so we could get a look at these two teams, which is, you know, both undefeated thus far in the pool stages. It's a meaningful game for the tournament as to what side of the championship bracket these two teams will end up on, and a flash potentially of a preview of the final. But indeed, the Italian coaching staff yesterday was saying they definitely wanted to use this game to really see if they could get an early win against the French, of course, the team to beat here in this women's division. So we know that they've been trying their very, very best. And of course, that's why we've seen, I think, pretty much all of their zone rotations thus far. And here's one more for this final potential point for the French.
Potentially the last one. France advance on offense, but there will be 4 more potentially last offensive points for the French after that.
Indeed, match point of 5. They didn't manage to finish it out on defense, so it will indeed be the O-line. Lacoste Lefebvre, of course, that's 68, working in the handler spot alongside Le Proux. That one a little bit low, but all fine. Looking for the give and goes, the good with that rapid movement. Forget does a little stumble, just making herself available on the wing space. That slice through the cup. This is good active movement. The French clearly learned their lesson from that first point, where them being too static and too saggy against the Italian zone allowed that first break. Forget coming in. Happy to take the contact from Corradini even.
We talked a little bit about contact, realizing that somehow it's even, sometimes it's even better to accept the contact.
Really enjoyed that little grab from Lacoste Lefebvre on the far sideline, just avoiding the contact from the player by just putting the hand out. Easy layout for Forget. Sacrifices the body a little. Bagamashki. Or Troyo even. Of course, Bagamashki. It's not on the pitch. She's that injured hamstring. Just want to say her name anyway. Lacoste Lefebvre. Inside to Forget. Forget now back to Lacoste Lefebvre, and there we go, folks. It's going to be 15-9. The Italian women unable to punch the same scoreline that the Czech Republic did against this dynasty-starting French women's side.
Yeah, nowhere near as close as the Czechs. Let's be honest about that. And I think maybe those two coaching staffs want to get together and talk a little bit. I've seen the Czech coaches come here again and again looking at our screen. I wonder why they're not just watching their phones, but I mean, they are here live. That's fine, but good reps from both teams. The Italians really pushing and getting their opportunities. They just weren't able to convert in the same way. The French were not as clinical, maybe not as ready for it as the French were early in the morning. Of course, the French had a game off.
Indeed, they were fresher in terms of the schedule. They were cleaner in terms of their possessions. They really just held on to the disc so well on offense and denied the Italians repeatedly when they came out on defense. What a performance from this under-20s French women's side. Still the team to beat here at the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023. And we may well be getting a sideline interview for you from Carolina Mabekon-Diasson. Seems to be sauntering over to our booth with Steph Rapazzo. Indeed. So Christina will give up her headset. Salut Carolina.
Salut.
Ça va?
Ça va très bien. You speak French?
I do speak some French, but we'll speak in English because we've been commentating in English.
Let's go.
So, congratulations on another fantastic win in the tournament.
Thank you very much.
How did it feel to be playing against that Italian zone?
It was the hardest game we had since this competition start. So yeah, they have a really good zone, but our coaches were prepared for that, and so they explained us how to break the zone, and yes, we just did it, and so yeah, we're just so happy.
Well, tell me about then how you were breaking the zone, because the first point there was obviously they broke the O-line.
Yeah.
You were maybe a little bit more sort of static. You didn't
Yeah.
move too much. So was there a kind of an adjustment where you decided to be more active and move more?
Yeah, a lot of movement to make them tired, and also pass to the middle because there was a hole. So yeah, that's how we do to break that zone.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Well, congratulations on the offense. I can see have you got a little bit of liquid chalk on your
Yeah,
hands to
yeah.
keep the. I like that. It's a good idea, especially when it's so warm. So on the defense, then of course Camille had a great game.
Great game. She's a great player.
Oh no, absolutely. I envy you getting to play alongside such wonderful athletes as well. In terms of the kind of the defensive changes in the second half, because obviously you got those 4 sort of points. The 2 before the end of the first half, the 2 coming out into the second half. Yeah. So what was when you were talking in the halftime, what was the difference on defense that you wanted to make?
On the halftime, we just the coaches tell us to just stay focused, and we have some objective. Like we have to win the first to be the first team to have 4 points, and after 8 points, so the halftime, and after just win the game. So we just stay focused, and yeah, that was it. Just stay calm, and yeah, that was it.
Brilliant. So I've noticed you've got some fantastic nails with the tricolor on.
Thank you.
What's been your favorite moment so far of this championship?
Wow, there's so many moments. I don't really know.
But what do you think first when I say your favorite moment?
When we win all the game. I don't know how we win. That's so incredible. Yeah, just the win. All the moments are incredible. Yeah, and that's it.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to seeing perhaps you win many more games and maybe some very exciting games later on in the tournament. But congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any messages for your fans back home?
Hi everyone. In French.
Yeah.
Coucou tout le monde. Je vous fais des gros bisous. Merci de nous regarder. Vraiment, on va gagner le championnat pour vous. Donc voilà, des gros bisous. Merci à vous. And that's it.
Well, merci à toi.
Merci beaucoup.
Et bonne chance. Well, that was a fantastic little sideline interview. Wonderful to have Carolina Mabekon-Diasson. Christina, final thoughts on that match?
The French team just was the better. They, Mabekon-Diasson mentioned that they're playing little games to 4, games to 8, and then trying to win in the second half, and it showed here. I think the French mixed squad said a very similar thing at EUC, and you can see the mentality preached early.
The game within the game. Looking at the stats of this one, of course, a clear difference in scoreline for the French. Their break chances that were taken in the second half.
One more. Italy had 1 chance to break France, and they didn't.
Yep.
And 7 break chances for France. 7 breaks for France, 17 chances. 2 breaks for Italy, and then 6 clean holds, also very impressive.
Absolutely.
Especially for the juniors, the windy conditions and the big pressure that Italy can put with the athleticism.
Indeed. Well, that will wrap us up here for this women's pool play game between the 2, until this moment, undefeated squads in the championship here at the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023, but it's going to be the French that will continue undefeated in towards the championship bracket. Of course, we will see both of those teams later stages of the tournament as they try and get themselves in tussle position for medals. But don't go anywhere, folks. We have a second game for you today on our live stream. It's going to be switching over to the Open Division. We'll have Belgium against the French side of the Open Division as well. So if you're a Francophone, a Francophone, as you might say, then don't go anywhere, folks, but we will see you for more on the other side.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah, Ultimate.
It's a lion,